From Our Savior of Lutheran Church, and we have the pledge. I will do the pledge afterwards. Good morning.
Good morning. Shall we all rise, and then we'll stay standing for the pledge following. So let's pray. Almighty and eternal God and Father of us all, as we pause in prayer this morning at the beginning of this meeting, we are mindful of powerful forces of nature that are so much bigger than any of us. Fire, earthquake, cyclones, tornadoes. We pray for all those grieving, hurting, and homeless as a result of these natural disasters. Help us all to humbly be better able to both receive and offer help in times of need. And we now also ask that you bless those who serve here in this county, that they may do their work in a spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice. Help them to use their authority to serve faithfully, to care for your creation, and work together for the common good. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to take a moment right now to have a moment of silence for one of our own ocean lifeguards, Robert Wishner, who passed away yesterday. May we pray. Amen. Are there any additions, deletions to the agenda?
Madam Chair, I'd like to request that we add a presentation by the property appraiser David Nolte under item 9A.
All right.
He had some information that came to us at the Value Adjustment Board on Thursday about a pending bill before the governor and would like to present it to us.
Okay. I also would like to move item 8B from consent to 7A informational. Is there anyone else? I'll have a motion.
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Thank you. Unanimously. Proclamations and presentations. We have a presentation and proclamation designating the month of May 2008 as Foster Family Appreciation Month. Rosanna, would you come to the podium so you can receive this, please? And I'll be happy to read it for you.
Thank you very much.
Whereas all children need love, support, and the stability of a family, and whereas many children are currently living in substitute care away from their families of birth in a residential shelter or foster family home, and whereas it has been proven that there are indeed families able and willing to foster children with special needs, and whereas families who have fostered these children deserve community and public agency supports to sustain their work with foster children, now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County that the month of May 2008 be designated as Foster Family Appreciation Month in Indian River County, signed by all 5 county commissioners.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Hibiscus Children's Center, I am Rosanna Gonzalez. I'm the foster family recruiter, and we need foster families. We have 20 of them here in Indian River County, and we are so grateful for all they do for our kids. And I can tell you that we need more homes because we lost 39% of them for a good reason. Forever families. They were adopted.
Good.
But we still need more foster parents. So if you see my little signs all over the place, that's what it's about. And I have a nice little foster care change a lifetime pin for all of you.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for all your work.
Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. Oh, good to see you this morning. Yeah. Thanks for coming.
We're going to put on a shirt right now. I don't know if that's... You're the GQ guy.
We also have a presentation proclamation designating May 18th to the 24th as Emergency Medical Services Week. Good morning, Ryan.
I see Assistant Chief Brian Bakeen.
Good morning.
Chief King. Thank you, Madam Chair. I have the distinct pleasure of presenting the proclamation designating May 18th through May 24th, 2008 as Emergency Medical Services Week. Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas the emergency medical services team consists of emergency physicians, emergency nurses, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, educators, administrators, and others. Whereas the emergency members of the emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value of the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Indian River County Board of County Commissioners that in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 18th through 24th, 2008 as Emergency Medical Services Week with the theme EMS, Your Life is Our Mission, and we encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Duly adopted this 13th day of May 2008, signed by all 5 county commissioners.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Brian Burkeen, Assistant Chief, Indian River County Fire Rescue. On behalf of all the fine men and women in our department, we want to thank you for taking the time to recognize us. It's important to the people on the streets to know that they're out there every day doing good medicine, pre-hospital medicine, and we continue to do that. I ran the numbers yesterday. We've responded to over 7,600 medical calls since January 1st through yesterday. That's almost 60 a day. And we're saving lives, we're making a difference. And we really want to thank you, the commissioners, for making it possible, Mr. Barrett, for his support. And we really appreciate it. So join me in thanking those men and women in the department next week during EMS week. And thank them for a job well done. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Madam Chair. Ryan, while we have you here, could you guys give us a quick update on the status of the Interstate and US 1 with the Malabar wildfires?
As of this morning, Interstate 95 and US 1 are both open. Fires are somewhat contained thanks to the low winds last night and the increased humidity. The wind change did us good. They're doing very well. We sent 2 engines, 2 brush trucks up over the last 2 days for mutual aid assistance. Guys make a heck of a difference up there, saving many homes. Some of our crews were just assigned to neighborhoods where they were just do the best you can with what you got. They were able to save 5 to 10 homes per neighborhood.
Wonderful.
Just by their own work. So our hats go off to them. It's hard work, and it's going to be many more days before this is brought under control. So
Okay, well, keep up the great work.
thank you guys very much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Brian.
all.
Good morning. Our next item of business is consent agenda. Would anyone like anything pulled? Then I'll take a motion.
Move to accept as presented.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Then we have addition of Constitutional Officer David Nolte. Good morning. Glad to have you with us this morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm David Nolte, Indian River County Property Appraiser, 900 Royal Palm Place, Vero Beach, Florida. The legislature, in its wisdom, passed a bill.
You're being facetious, of course.
Committee substitute for House Bill 909, and it completely changes the Value Adjustment Board and puts additional costs on the county. However, after carefully reading it and talking with some of my associates and the people who were involved in the legislative session, this was the least troublesome bill that could be passed by the legislature. They had some real whoppers up there. There was a lot of support for this, and it's almost impossible if the governor would veto it. It puts great expenses, additional expenses on the Department of Revenue. They have to come up with a manual. They have to hold training classes around the state. Nobody can be involved in the VAB procedures unless they attend these training classes. It attempts to invalidate all of the previous court decisions involving value adjustment boards. And the main thing it does, well, it changes the composition of the value adjustment boards, puts 2 citizens on there, and it also calls for private counsel who has no association with government to be the counsel for the value adjustment board. Now, this seems to be a highly expensive and questionable procedure. I mean, attorneys are attorneys. And to have to go out and hire another attorney when we already have several on staff makes little or no sense, because the county's attorneys represent the interests of the people anyway. The county board of county commissioners represents the interests of the people. So to have a separate counsel to represent the people, completely independent, makes no sense to me. And the thought here was this could be a very expensive proposition. But after reading it thoroughly and talking with others, the attorney for this board only has to be present when the board is meeting. And if you look back on our past, the board meets in an organizational meeting for about 15 minutes to do 2 or 3 things, and they meet in a final meeting to either accept or reject the recommendation of the special masters or special magistrates, and maybe one other meeting. So it could be 3 15-minute meetings or 3-hour meetings, but I think the most you're looking at in terms of cost would be about additional $500 a year, unless we get into some protracted situation that hasn't come up yet. So I don't think that you could convince the governor that a $500 mandate is reason to veto this bill when so many, this passed the legislature almost unanimously, because once again there were so many bills and so many people trying to get things done. So I don't think it would be rational to think that the governor would do that. A couple other things it does is it puts in 2 additional levels. If either the petitioner or the property appraiser is unhappy with the decision, they get to appeal again to the value adjustment board. If either one is unhappy with that, they get to appeal again to the county commission. So there's 2 additional levels of appeal. How this process is going to work remains to be seen. I remember 4 or 5 years ago, before they mandated special masters, we used to get this done in 2 days in October, and we were done. And this year, with all the rules that came on before this bill, we finished up last week with a great deal more expense and a great deal. Well, I don't think the service is any better to the people, but I think the process has gotten out of hand.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
David, I want to make sure I understand. You're talking first about we've got to hire an outside attorney, and then you're saying on the other hand it's only going to be about $500?
Well, it could be he has to be here for the time the board meets. It could be 3 meetings of 15 minutes each.
Well, but the last couple of years that we've served on the board, we've had some meetings go 2 hours, 3 hours, listening to this, and I can't imagine.
Well, the board doesn't have to listen to it. That's your decision.
No, but I mean, if these things occur, and I think we have a practice here of listening to everybody, but when these things occur, I can't imagine the attorney fees only being $500. The other thing is even though, I think it'll be a lot more than that, but even so, I think this is the 4th or the 5th unfunded mandate we've had since the first of the year. And on one hand, the state says cut your taxes, and on the other hand, they keep handing down additional responsibilities that cost local government money.
No question. It's going to be a huge expense for the small counties. And I think the problem comes out of 2 or 3 big counties who historically have 12 to 20,000 petitions a year and have taken years to get their VAB done. But it's really thrown a monkey wrench into the system for the medium and small counties.
Well, do you think it'd be worthwhile for us to at least send a resolution asking the governor to veto it?
I don't think it'll do any good, but once again, it couldn't hurt.
or just a letter from the individual commissioners? Whatever you think.
I think it'd have more
Resolution
strength.
has
It's a
more strength,
resolution because
yeah.
it's from 5 of us, and it shows that we're all on the same page. And, this is just a continuation of handing responsibilities down that we pay for. And
Then perhaps that's the best way to phrase this, is that just basically we see this as an unfunded mandate from the state. That I'm thinking about some verbiage, not to write it personally, but to let when the county attorney.
That it's very difficult for us to find new funding for it.
Well, it flies in the face of what
we're trying to do
voters have told us to do. Exactly.
and also what the governor and the legislature have told us to do.
Yeah.
So I would make a motion that we do a resolution and asking the governor to veto this and stating that some of the reasons.
Okay, I'll
that Dave
second
brought
it. And knowing that it probably is fruitless, but it's an effort.
Never know.
You never know.
Politics.
Just for clarification, Madam Chair, the main focus will be that we're opposing the unfunded mandates part of it, not some of the other meat to the.
Yeah, because some of that, I mean, citizens on the committee, and I mean, that's all. I don't want to. I don't have a dog in that hunt. It's just mainly the outside council,
The unfunded mandate.
the unfunded side of it. Yes.
Great.
Because we have council, and as you stated, and there's no reason to go outside and search for new people to come in and cost us more money.
Right.
If the citizens understand the nature of the duty, you may not get any volunteers.
Jim Grancy would volunteer.
Madam Chairman, a couple of things. There's weekly contact between our office and the clerks that serve the Value Adjustment Board. So I'd agree with Commissioner Wheeler that there will be increased attorney costs. They have to go ahead and now hire the special masters, approve the contracts, draft the contracts. So I think there will be a fair amount of work that it be done by an attorney, whoever is selected. The second thing is the Florida Association of Counties has taken a look at this bill from a constitutional standpoint, and there's been some good talk about challenging the bill. It wouldn't cost us anything additional. That would be done out of funds that we pay for our yearly dues to the Florida Association of Counties, taking it from the point of the small counties where there'll be such a great expense to them.
I don't think, excuse me, but I don't necessarily think that the attorney has to be involved in anything. It says here, no meeting of the board shall take place unless the counsel to the board is present. Doesn't say he has to do anything else. He just has to be at the meeting.
But Dave, I think what he's saying, he's got to read the backup and go over the law that are. I mean, they're not going to just show up and not know anything about what we're doing, and that's called billable hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a 3-hour minimum.
Yeah.
Every one of those 15 minutes equates to 3 hours.
Oh, I appreciate you coming and giving us the update on that.
Well, and just what we're talking about. What did we pay to the special masters this year?
$5,000.
Paid an awful lot. The last guy's bill for just hearing one case or 3 cases was $1,200 and some odd dollars.
But we had, I think, 2 special masters working on it, and I don't know what the total bills were, but of course, that's an older unfunded mandate with the law change, but it's still there.
Substantial.
I think that was,
$5,000.
no, I think total for all of it was in the 20,000 range.
Oh.
And we used to do it for no cost because you guys work for free. The school board worked for free, so there was no cost at all involved. And it took 2 days instead of 8 months.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Thank you, and we'll get that up to Tallahassee. Public hearings, we have one. Consideration to approve a conservation easement relating to expenditure of environmental land bond funds for the city of Fellsmere's Florida Communities Trust Grant project known as Fellsmere's Tailhead Preserve. Memorandum dated May 5th, 2008, pages 96 to 117. Good morning.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is a matter that, this is a public hearing. It has to do with the acquisition or city acquisition of Fellsmere, of a project called the Fellsmere Trailhead Preserve. It's located at the northwest corner of I-95 and County Road 512, and it's about 86 acres. It also includes a segment of the Trans-Florida Central Railroad Preserve, which has been looked at as a greenway and identified as such for interconnections. This is an FCT, Florida Communities Trust application by the city of Fellsmere
90% of the funding for this project, which was awarded through the FCT, is to be expended by the state, and the counties from previous discussions is looking to be a 10% contributor towards the acquisition cost. Right now on the overhead I have a copy of the conceptual management plan for the property that the City of Fellsmere had conceived and also submitted to the state as part of the management aspects of the property. It includes a number of public access facilities, campgrounds, trailhead, boardwalks, observation piers, and interconnection, among other things, to other properties, particularly the bigger Sebastian Buffer Preserve State Park. Just a little background, this actually came to the board back in May 2007. At that time, the County Commission, on recommendation of the county's Land Acquisition Advisory Committee, agreed to the 10% funding, and it was capped at $700,000, excuse me, $700,000, conditioned upon the county obtaining a percent of undivided title interest. Subsequently, the grant was submitted. It was awarded by FCT. The county and city were advised by FCT staff, however, that the undivided title interest was not allowed as we thought it was in working with the city's application consultants. The county was not an applicant, it was a city application. And therefore, what the FCT or Florida Community Trust did say, however, is that we could gain an interest in the property through a conservation easement in lieu of the title interest. Under the proposal, the City of Fellsmere will hold the title. The property will be fully open to the public. The City of Fellsmere is responsible for site recreational access improvements and for management. The actual cost based on the negotiated purchase price is, and the 10% is actually turns out to be $542,873. This went back to the Land Acquisition Advisory Committee on May 12th, and the committee voted 15-0 to recommend that the commission approve the easement in lieu of the title interest and proceed as a 10% funding partner. Staff's recommendation to the board is that the board approve the conservation easement. We've also included in the backup a memorandum of understanding, which is supplemental to the easement to document the relationship between the city and the county in the acquisition. We're also requesting that and recommending that the commission approve the expenditure of the $542,873 in environmental land bond funds towards the purchase. And that's our recommendation.
Thank you. Any questions at this point of staff? Mr. Wheeler?
I'm curious, Roland, if part of the condition was to have an undivided interest and be on the application, why did the application, was that was all I assume agreed to before the application, and why weren't we part of the application so we could have an undivided interest?
I'm trying to recall the circumstances at the time, but there are a couple of issues. I think one is by the county not being a co-applicant, we therefore have no responsibility or liability on the fairly substantial management costs. If we were a co-applicant, if the city for some reason didn't follow through or couldn't fund it, and the applicant couldn't meet the FCT grant conditions, the county would be pulled into that. We might have to pick up the tab. The other thing was the city has an opportunity, which is unique to small cities or towns, that the county doesn't, to get more funds through the state. If they proceed as a applicant, they can get up to 100% funding. In this case, they applied for 90. If the county applied for it under our program, the state limits county potential match to substantially less than that. And we do have the city's consultants here. They might add to that as far as the discussion that led to them being the sole applicant, but that's my understanding. The other point is, from a staff perspective, we feel the easement fills the same role as far as the county and guarantee or added layer of protection that it stay in conservation, and we feel that that's a sufficient alternative.
So, but I think this came in front of us about a year ago, or a little over a year ago. And did we consciously make a decision not to have an undivided interest, or was that just kind of changed along the line, or
No,
how did that occur?
It was discussed when this was first being proposed. Both the city's consultant and staff felt that we had no information other than that it would be something that FCT would accept since we were committing to be the match, but they did explain to that otherwise. The lack, I think that there was general support for the project, but the interest was related more to the bond expenditure and meeting bond council requirements for the county getting some interest in expending bond funds. And as this evolved, it was determined that an easement would fulfill that in the same.
When was that determined?
Again, this was after the application was submitted. I think, I'm not sure the exact time, but it was a few months after it was submitted.
So the original application was submitted with our name on it? I understood it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. The next question I have is, and I'm in favor of the conservation land, and I like what I see is going to be done. But the next question, I guess, I don't know if you could answer it or Fellsmere, but I know they've got quite a work list in front of them for putting the park together. My understanding is that's one of the reasons we're paying the fee and the city's not paying. In other words, I think 90% is coming from the Florida Trust and 10% from us. Then the city's going to manage it and make all the improvements. And I'd just like to, know what the timetable is for the improvements, and do we have any ability to make sure that they'll happen within that time frame?
I would defer to Jason.
Okay.
Well, I'll open the public hearing at some point. Yeah. Any other questions of our staff? Okay. At this point, I'll open the. Oh, you do?
I just wanted to ask Councilor Fell a quick question. What characteristic of this easement is different or sets apart from any other easement that we've considered under this bond?
Thank you, Commissioner. This land will be owned by another local governmental entity, and that entity is the City of Fellsmere. This land, once owned by the city, will have full and unfettered public access. The public will always be able to access it. The land is proposed to be developed as passive recreation and limited active recreation. For example, one component is primitive equestrian overnight camping. So members of the public who are interested in that recreational activity will have the ability to take advantage of it. There are no limitations on access that were associated and are associated with our other types of conservation easements, like the Sexton Conservation Easement or the Paget Creek. Those lands remain in private ownership with a public conservation easement for limited access purposes. Here, this land, everybody can access it whenever they wish.
So notwithstanding any safety and security concerns or management practices of the land, this will be land that's provided for the public with public funds?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this point, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone from the public wish to speak? Name and address, please, for the record.
Jason Unamaker, City Manager, City of Fellsmere. It's good to be here. Commissioner Wheeler, the point you raised, we have 10 years to put those improvements in place, and if we did not, the state would take the lands back and they'd go back to the Board of Trustees.
Okay. I see your timetable, though, is a lot sooner than that.
Well, it's staged out, and that's a tentative time frame, but ultimately we have 10 years.
We're looking like up around 2012, you're anticipating?
Right. We'll start phasing in the improvements as soon as we close, but we want to give ourselves latitude, so I don't want to say that we'll have any of those improvements by that definitive date. That's a guiding timeline, but we have to have them done within 10 years.
It looks like, according to this, you're going to start the improvements in 2010?
Yes, sir. We'll start immediately at some level.
Okay.
Clearing and signage, things like that.
Okay.
Any other questions of Jason?
Is this from Did the city provide this timeline, Jason?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On the second page there at the top, it says an entrance sign with Florida Communities Trust recognition. Can we add Indian River County to that since we are kicking a little
Thank
bit
you
of
very
money?
much.
And one of the discussions I would add is that we would work with LAC, and to the extent that that remains a viable board, we don't mind bringing site plans back to LAC or even the county, because one of the discussions we had is we wanted to, kind of share oversight to the extent that we get maximum buy-in for this project.
Yeah.
So that's
I think our CLAC, the Conservation Lands Advisory Committee, is more on the management side of it, so they would be a good one to bring it to.
That's a new acronym for me.
Is this in the city yet, Jason?
Excuse me?
Is this in the city yet?
Portions of it are.
Can I,
What's the next question?
Yeah, when you do your development and you're doing an average of 2 or 3 units per acre, is that going to be part of the average overall city way? I mean,
Oh, I thought you were going to ask if we were going to annex it. No, it's not.
that's just an assumption on my part.
No, what you're referring to typically applies to that specific property, like to the Anson to the south or Fellsmere 392 to the east.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I like this project. I like it a lot for a couple reasons. One, we're putting in $500,000 to get 60, 70 acres of 86 acres. They're right in an area that's right on 512. We're creating a public facility. I like it because it's a little more of what I'd call active recreation versus a little more passive recreation. This isn't going to be just fenced off and let us be able to look at it through a hog wire fence.
Yes, sir.
During daylight hours. I like that. And I really like it because, y'all are taking care of it, and the county residents can use it. So, nice job.
We appreciate it. This is the first of several dominoes that's fitting in place nicely. The county staff's been great to work with. Your board's been great to work with. The North County Greenway Initiative, all those things are coming together very nicely. So we're very happy this is a good partnership with the county.
This is a good joint venture, and hopefully we'll have more, and look
Absolutely.
forward to your cooperation and your steady hand.
Look forward to it, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Good morning.
Morning, Jens Tripson, 2525 14th Street, Vero Beach. I'm here representing Pelican Island Audubon Society, and we urge you to approve this partnership. And also, not really knowing how far I can go as chairman of the CLAC, we'll be happy to look forward to working with the city of Fellsmere on management of the property. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to this? I close the public hearing. I'll have a motion,
Madam
please.
Chair, I'd like to move that we approve the conservation easement, approve the memorandum of understanding, and authorize expenditure of $542,873 in environmental land bond funds for the Fellsmere Trailhead Preserve property.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
That was a joyous vote. We get those every now and then.
I think, the only thing I'd say is I think this is on, I think this is on the internet also, your Trailhead Preserve. And I would encourage people to go in and look at this, because when this is completed, it should be really, really a nice conservation area. Too long to read here, but I mean, picnic tables and grills and horse trails and
something for everyone.
Camping, everything. It's really it's going to be nice when it's finished, Jason.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Public discussion items. We had a request, but Diane George is not able to be with us today. Public notice items. Notice of schedule, public hearings. Public hearing May the 20th, 2008. Ryle Acquisition Group, LLC's request to rezone approximately 596.33 acres from A1 agricultural to up to 1 unit 5 acres, RS3, residential single family, up to 3 units per acre, or RS6, residential single family, up to 6 units per acre, RM3, residential multifamily, up to 3 units per acre, RM6, residential multifamily up to 6 units per acre, and RM8, residential multifamily up to 8 units. To planned development, transitional neighborhood design. I have to put my glasses on. This is a lot. I can't do this without them. And obtain conceptual plan, development plan approval for a project to be known as Liberty Park Legislative. B, public hearing June 3, 2008, consideration of proposed amendments to LDR Chapter 910, concurrency management system to add school concurrency regulations and update transportation monitoring area of influence reference. Legislative. Commissioner items. Commissioner Wesley Davis, Vice Chairman, you have something?
Yes, ma'am. This came to my attention. This is more of a just an effort to try to keep some jobs in the community. And of course, we do have some effect of what happens to the north of us. We feel the effects of the downsizing of the space program. And this was sent to me by Truman Scarborough, Chairman of the Brevard County Commission, and would like to do a resolution of support and maintain the space flight expertise at the and the national strategic importance of the space program and the domestic use capabilities and all that. And it was just one of those things I wanted to bring forward the resolution to support the commission to the north of us.
Right. Brevard County asked us to do this, and we are certainly willing to cooperate.
Thank you.
And I think you have a second.
If all that was a motion.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Thank you for bringing this forward. All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. We have another item from Commissioner Flesher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A few months ago, I was contacted by Adam Young from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission regarding our range, and he advised me that we were going to get into the 10-year assessment as per statute, and that's Florida State Statute 259032 sub 10, which affords us the opportunity and mandates that the public and the range users and members of the community are able to review the use of the land. And we will have that meeting, and it's scheduled for Monday on the 19th, 6:30 to 9 here in the county chambers. If anybody had any questions on why the meeting must take place, again, it's just per statute. The telephone number you can reach Adam Young at in Tallahassee is 850-413-0084. And I encourage all members of the public to attend. This is your range. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Commissioner, apparently the paper misreported the date. They had it as happening last night. And it's, and just so everybody's clear, it is next Monday is the correct date.
I was here last night, and we went on ahead and held the meeting anyhow. So.
Oh, good. That's all done then. Thank you, Wesley.
No, this is important. I think one of the things that I'm going to bring up, too, and whenever we have the opportunity to talk about it, I really would like to see a sporting clays facility out there other than just the 5-stand that we currently have. I believe that's the one thing that's holding the shooting range back from profitability. And if we can get our 10 sporting clay stations out there, this would just be the icing on the cake for the world-class facility, in fact, that we do have right now.
Well, it's doing better than it did.
Oh, absolutely. So. Absolutely. But sporting clays is to avid shooters very similar to what golf is to those that enjoy golf, I guess. And
I take it you're not a real golfer?
I'm not a golfer, no.
Could you say are those that enjoy fishing? Or?
Yes.
Actually, the problem with that has been environmental permitting, and it's on state property. We just can't get the cooperation we need. We'd love to have that out there.
But afraid of the lead from the...
You're afraid of the lead, even though, it's already there, but just because it sits on the preserve there, they don't want to give us a permit.
No, and that goes down to the management of it. And I think it's very important for us to be heard on that issue, especially.
Commissioner Davis, I guess we can expect to see you in attendance at the meeting.
Monday night.
Outstanding. And again, that's a meeting for best management practices, and it's probably an excellent suggestion.
Everyone is invited.
Yes.
Any further business? We're going to finish up pretty early this morning.
You're getting better.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All those...
Adjourned.
Aye. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.